Mr. West, want to thank you for joining us for this NBC5 Conversations, a call for change. Thanks for your time. And go ahead and explain to us, you have a Texas connection.
Yes, I do. I'd like to thank you all for coming out here and giving me the opportunity to explain this technology because so many people need it around the world and here in Texas and Sand Branch and other communities everywhere. Yeah, I have a Texas connection. I got to Texas in 1968. My father was a military guy, and I went to high school here. I went to college. I graduated from Trinity University in San Antonio and Cornett Ward College in San Antonio. And from there, I got commissioned as a second lieutenant in the United States Infantry. And as an infantry officer, I stayed in there for 2.5, almost 3 years before going to flight school, became a pilot, came back to Texas, was stationed again. I have family that lives here, but I'm actually a Georgia boy. And so Georgia's my home, Columbus, Georgia, Atlanta, and I've got family up in Detroit, Michigan.
Well, I know that you've been all around and well traveled, and in your life and travels, you've been made aware of an issue that you see in our world. Explain to us what that issue is.
The issue is we're running out of water. What it is, the water, how we find it, is changing. So there's more moisture in the atmosphere, as you can tell by the rains, the way it comes down when it finally does rain. And then with a massive growth in population, so we're sitting on top of our groundwater that's under our feet. So when you sit a house and outhouses and pigs and animals on top of where your groundwater seeps into the ground, the population gets larger, your groundwater gets contaminated. But there's moisture in the atmosphere. And the first time I got truly interested in this was in Australia, because I got to see firsthand effects of what climate change did, saltwater incursion under the ground, and I just got to see hectare after hectare of land of dead trees because saltwater had come in and just killed entire forests. So I've had a global perspective of seeing this, not only from Scandinavia, but to Australia, the continent of Africa, the Middle East, and all over the United States.
So, seeing this issue, you've kind of created a way for us to create water or capture water in a different way.
I wouldn't say that I've created it because the technology was around for a long time. But what we do is we always make something more efficient. Like when we first had airplanes, they were extremely slow. You sat there and the engine just shook around. Now we have jets that fly 3 times the speed of sound. And so basically what I did was I took a technology that was limited to a certain size that you could build it. And what I did was I found the second stage where you can now take the technology and inversely, the larger you get it, the less energy it consumes by building in non-mechanical parts. So I'm an innovator. I didn't invent it. I'm an innovator of the technology.
All right. So tell us what this technology is. What have you innovated here? What have you done? What is it?
When we sit outside every day and it's so humid and you put your glasses on the table, you see those glasses sweat. Well, if you use normal HVAC or just like your air conditioner, it can only get so big. What I had to do is I had to find a second way to make that larger without increasing the energy consumption. Well, what I can do inside of that machine, I can do inside of a 10,000, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 square foot building. So if you build a building like this in Florida, you open the door, you walk inside of the building, and it can actually rain from the coil on the roof. And that is the dream that I have to do with this technology.
All right. So explain to me, and just from what this is, what it does. What does this do? I know you were kind of explaining it makes the
Right.
rain, but actually you are getting water, drinkable, sustainable water.
Yes, most definitely. You see it every day. You see your air conditioner. You can't drink that because it's not the coils inside of it is pulling in all of the bacteria and everything from your home. So the machine is purposely designed to seek out the H2O molecule in the air, use low energy consumption to go over a surface area that's maintained at a temperature that will make it like your glass, you see it sweating. The machine just does that on steroids. It just says, okay, I know what the temperature is. I know what the humidity is. I know what the dew point is. This is where I need to be to make as many of those little H2O molecules fall out of the air. And And then that's how you get into thousands of gallons of water every day at a very low energy consumption.
And what do you call this?
An atmospheric water generator.
Atmospheric water generator.
Some people like to say it's a dehumidifier. It is not a dehumidifier. It is a generator of water.
Why is this so important?
We have a whole climate that is completely changing right now. When was the last time it rained here in Dallas?
A couple of weeks at least.
Down from Austin to San Antonio, they sit on top of the Edwards Aquifer. When I developed this technology in Texas, I was thinking about groundwater recharge, building systems large enough to actually just have them operate on solar power, taking no energy from the grid, and just let that water run into the aquifer and just recharge it with millions of gallons of water every day. So where we're at right now with this technology and why we need it is because we are running out of water. If nobody wants to say it, I will stand up and I will say it. I'll be the chicken little guy. The sky is falling. I said that many years ago. We're there today. And I get emails from people all over the United States, around the world, who've seen what we've done. And thanks for putting the information out there, and other outlets that have as well, and the foundational work that we do, the Moses West Foundation. We've put this information out so people know what's possible, that they actually see us doing it, just like here. This is absolutely necessary today, because in this town, we have the well water is contaminated. Some people say it's not, but we test water all throughout the United States. And we know, because people don't want to really drink their water anymore. So this is one of the known sources that we have, and we need to tap into it. We need to get the engineering powerhouses behind this and make this the reality that it should be.
As you just mentioned about communities that we're in, this one and others, where do you see the benefits of this, going for communities overseas, military? Where do you see it?
Everywhere. If you have a need for water, this technology should be everywhere. If you have, there's three sources: liquid, solid, and gas. Someone somewhere is getting water one of these ways. Either getting it from a river or stream, purifying it, getting it from Lake Michigan, Lake Erie, or from an aquifer and purifying it. But all this right now, this humidity we feel, we're sitting in an ocean of water right now. I was a pilot in the military. On a hot day, it's very difficult to fly. It takes more power for the aircraft, because the pressure in the air is very, very light, but it's full of moisture, hot air, hot, humid air. It's hard to get a bite on that. That moisture that we sit on every day down at this level is bankable water that we need to harvest.
So everywhere where water is needed. How about natural disaster areas? We always see if infrastructure goes down. Is that one of the areas you're looking at?
Absolutely. Absolutely. When Hurricane Maria hit and we took the big 5,000 liter unit to Vieques, Puerto Rico, we sustained an entire island, 5,000 people. Now, 5,000 people, each one of them has got 3 people at home. So basically 15,000 people. We recorded 5,000 families. 15,000 people were drinking daily. I had one machine, I had a military guard, and I operated that machine the entire time I was there. It was nice of Elon Musk and his team. They had a Tesla battery and a solar array. They let me sign for the battery, and so we powered that system and we operated on solar power. And it supplied all of that entire island with drinking water. We got to the place where FEMA, they didn't even ship any more water into Vieques, but they did ship me 2-gallon water jugs to make sure everybody on the island had one. They knew how to operate the machine. So after a while, all they had to do was just sit there and watch people get water.
This seems so revolutionary, so amazing, that you would think everybody would want this. But have you faced any challenges or pushback from anybody as you work towards this?
The only pushback that I feel, or that I sense and see, is when I come into an area, other companies will come in behind me And so right now there's other people, and I think that's great because there's so much other things that more things that I have to do. But those companies, they'll come in, they'll follow my social media, and then they'll come in and they'll do something. I think that is great. Where I'm at right now is my main focus is not only on the humanitarian aspects of what I do and making people aware of what is possible and giving them access to me to ask questions, access to a machine when I bring one out to do this work, but my main core business is I have to call it a business. My main core business is with the federal government. Many people don't know this, but I build these machines for the United States military. I have these machines in the Pacific, Okinawa, Guam, Hawaii, and here in the United States. That's the part about me that people don't know.
Okay, all right.
And so right now I have to rush home. I have to rush home because the build out that I'm doing right now, I'm always learning so much that I just can't wait to get back and sit down with my engineers because we're just coming out of COVID and make the best product possible.
Hmm. When we look at this, like you have it as a business, and obviously you're doing that in your contracts, but you can go into communities that are like this and provide free water, basically. That's a big industry for companies who sell water. So, any concerns that any of them would want to stop you?
Look, we competition is good. Competition is healthy. That's how we move ahead. My groundswell of support comes from the bottom up. And then from my groundswell of support of the big brother side comes from the federal government down to me. Because they know if they ask me to do something or design something, I'm not going to stop until I get it done. And so on this side of the house, when people write to me and they say, I've got to listen to each one of the people that writes to me. They've got to know that somebody cares. And so, but on the foundational side of the house, right now we're working with some different companies to bring in hopefully millions of dollars into this foundation. All donations, big and small, come into here, and it allows me to come into a community like this and show people what is possible, or actually to build a machine, have another organization come in, train them, you take the machine, and you go do my job. And everybody can participate in this by donating to that Moses West Foundation to get this done. I would like to see this from the ground up. I'm not worried about the competition because there's more of us than them, and we understand each other. And this actually brings people together. This brings communities together. It brings people from indoors to outdoors, and it lets us see that we have more in common than we don't. It gets us off the tablet and off the computer and working together outside.
Mr. West, why is this important to you?
Save a life. I I've done that already. When I was in Puerto Rico, it was a hard leaving there because people came up. The FEMA director actually told me, he goes, Moses, he goes, one or two things are going to happen. You're gonna be out here one day. We see how long you work. You're going to drop dead, and then the world's not going to know everything you need to that you've got in your head, or the machine is going to break, or both. He goes, I want you to go home. You've done enough. And I never think that I've done enough. But then when I was leaving, people came up, cancer patients. They came up, and wives whose husbands were home sick, people with children. And they told me, you saved my life. I've heard it before. But to hear that one time, there's a proverb that says, he who saves one saves the world entire. So if you don't think about the profit, the profit margin behind what I do, just think about, we see the greed in the world, but think about the good that you can do. I come out here and I'm sweaty. I've got my clothes on and my boots and my shorts, but what I'm doing is I'm passionate about this. I'm passionate about having you understand it, having your audience understand it, that we can work together to solve some of the greatest issues that face us today. And water shortage is one of them. We have folks here that say they want to go back to Africa and help. Look, man, take a machine with you and some solar power and go there and provide water to people.
So you're doing this. So explain to us what the Moses West Foundation is and how people can find out more information about that.
The Moses West Foundation, I started the foundation to allow me to take, usually I'll have some surplus military equipment that I get in and I refurbish it, and then they buy new things and things that I'm doing research and development with that is just absolutely awesome. Like the machines I took to Flint, Puerto Rico, those were research items for the United States military. I actually took those from the military base and put them there. And so the Moses West Foundation, donations to that will allow me to build machines to give to you. If there's a church that needs a machine, I can get the donations, collectively get the donations from East Coast to West, North to South. Those donations come in from people who have to provide to people who do not have. Like in this community right here, $500,000 would build enough machines to make water for this entire community and people in California. So that's what the Moses West Foundation does. It allows me to come out here and do this, and also allows me to teach people about the technology. But someday, all my intellectual property, everything that I think of with it, it's got a value to it. It's got a monetary value. And as we continue to develop this technology, that monetary value continues to grow. As soon as I make the first bottled water plant, the profits from that would be incredible. So I look at all that profit would be absolutely obscene. No one person should have that in my book, the way I feel. I would put that into that Moses West Foundation, and a good board of directors would divvy that out to students for scholarships, research and development, engineering, STEM programs, students to travel to another country and stay for a bit. That's the legacy that I would like to leave with the foundational work that I'm doing right now.
And what's the address for the web address for it?
Oh, the MosesWestFoundation.org, and also on my Instagram page, there's a GoFundMe, and that's taken off really good. That's what actually supported all this. We didn't make the $500,000 goal to put in all the machines here, but hopefully we can make that $500,000 goal, build those machines, and give those units to people in this community here and any other community around the United States that needs them.
Sounds amazing what you're doing. In the perfect world for you, what's next for this? Where does this go from here, I guess, is the question.
The next logical step for me is I need to get as many people as possible trained up on this. I need to start, I got invited out to California to give a seminar and start teaching this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to start letting people know how they can do this, as well as having the foundation, and then getting people to understand it more. I see the logical progression of this is me not doing this anymore, and me getting to sit down in my shop with the engineers, and now that we're out of COVID somewhat, and sit down and build the largest machines that I know how to build that can sustain water for an entire town. That's what I need to do. I need to stop my little passion of coming out and doing this, but it's hard.
Yeah.
I was in the military.
Yeah, it's your project, it's your baby, and you're hands-on with it, and that's great to see. Mr. West, I just want to thank you for sharing with us for this NBC5 Conversations, a Call for Change, and the work that you're doing. Thank you.
Hey, thank you for taking the time to come out and see me on this busy day and put out a fire and just have a conversation. It's good. I get to talk to someone else and get out of my engineering thoughts for a day.